Hello, MileHiCon. How you doing? My name is Matt Rotundo, and I am a writer from Omaha, Nebraska. I am very excited to be part of MileHiCon this year because I haven't been able to be at MileHiCon for the last 3 years or so, and it really bums me out that I haven't been able to make it. So, even though we are doing it virtually this year, I am very excited and glad to be part of it. So, uh, we are at this is part of the reading, the delicious villainy reading, and what I'm going to read for you is a little bit in keeping with that theme. So let me tell you just briefly about myself. For those of you who don't know me, again, I'm a writer from Omaha, Nebraska. I do science fiction, I do fantasy, I do horror. Uh, my work, my short work has appeared in a number of places online and in print. If you'd like to see any of that short fiction, you can go out to my website, which is matthewsrotundo.com, and you can look under the bibliography, and you can get a list of all my stuff. I am a Writers of the Future winner. I am a 1998 graduate of the Odyssey Writing Workshop. And in addition to my short fiction, I have a couple of novels out, and they are two books in a series so far. The first book is called Petra, and it looks like this. Okay. The second book is Petra Released, and it looks like that. And you can also find links to purchase copies of either of those books also at my website if you're interested. Uh, Petra and Petra Released are two books in a series. The third book I'm working on, you can't see it in camera right now, but the manuscript is right here. I am working on it. I am unforgivably late with it at this point, for which I apologize. But I am working on it, and it's called Petra Rising. And I'm not going to make any promises as to when I'm going to be done with it, other than to say I've got the first draft done, and I'm doing a rewrite right now. So work is progressing. Those of you who've been reading the books and are very patiently waiting for the next book in the series, again, I apologize for the delay, but it is coming. I promise you that much. Okay. So, in keeping with our delicious villainy theme, I decided that I'm going to read a bit from the first book. This is from Petra, and I'm going to read a bit from chapter 12 of Petra. And this is going to be told from the point of view of the villain, who was a fun guy for me to write anyway. So I thought this would work well with the theme. Let me briefly set the scene for you. Petra is a prison planet, and it is controlled by an interplanetary compact of worlds in the far future. It is ruled by a warden by the name of Rolf Onklage, and he's my principal bad guy. He is our delicious villain for this reading. He has been ruling Petra with an iron fist from the very beginning. Our protagonist is a guy by the name of Cain Python, and he is a dignitary visiting from a non compact world that's thinking about joining the compact. But during his visit to Petra, there is a prisoner uprising. And the situation gets so desperate that the warden himself gets taken hostage by this desperate gang of prisoners. Um, and the situation gets so desperate that the warden has to kind of call in some reinforcements from a secret base on the far side of Petra. Um, this is just one of many secrets that Petra is hiding, and these prisoners that are staging this uprising have a number of secrets that they are trying to get off world. And they're trying to bring down Petra, basically, not just escape from it. Anyway, the warden has to call in these reinforcements from this secret base. The prisoners attempt to escape, and they take Cain Python with them. However, the ship that they are attempting to escape in gets shot down in the middle of a tropical storm. or so the warden believes. Now, the ship was hit, the ship was shot at and hit, but what the warden doesn't know at this point here is that the ship did not go down, and that it has that the people on that ship are still alive. But that's a story for another day. What we have right now is the warden has to meet with a delegation from that secret base I was talking about, because they are none too happy with the situation as it exists. And the warden knows this isn't going to be a very pleasant meeting, but he's got to do it. So that is where we are. I think that should be enough for you to kind of follow what's going on. So again, this is from chapter 12 of Petra, and our and our warden, his name is Rolf Onklage, and he is definitely one of our villains, and he's going to be meeting with some other villains. So here we go. His private offices were on the top floor of the main control complex, higher even than the guest suites. The double doors, Petron blackwood, adorned with a gold-plated rock and eagle insignia, parted silently as he approached. The blackwood motif continued inside, comprising the bookcases, conference table, and the massive desk. Oil paintings of Land's End seascapes, done in a variety of styles, hung on the walls. The northern exposure was all tinted glass, affording the best view on the island, short of the mountains, hidden for the moment by heavy curtains. Plush carpet cushioned and quieted Onklage's footsteps. The three Kasaans, all dressed in distinctive orange-red military uniforms, stood as Onklage entered. Two of them, majors by their stripes, at the conference table. The other, a colonel Onklage had met once before, at one of the chairs near the desk. Mardell, the man's name was. Pudgy, balding, bespectacled, with eyes that seemed to bulge from their sockets. Onklage could not help being amused, and he didn't bother hiding his smile at Mardell's little entourage. "I apologize for keeping you gentlemen waiting," Onklage said, stowing the smile. He crossed the room and shook Mardell's hand. "Warden," Mardell said. His hands were smooth and dry, his grip just a bit soft. He smelled of a musky cologne so strong it had to be fresh. He'd also spruced up a bit before this meeting. Onklage took his place behind the desk. "Please sit." Mardell remained on his feet, as did his functionaries. "We've been here for hours." "It's been a very trying day for all of us." "I realize you're a busy man, Warden, but so am I." Onklage steepled his hands in front of him. "Colonel, in the past 30 hours, this base has been attacked. Not once, but twice. The first attack inflicted 40 casualties, blew up my armory, and destroyed the hub. The second attack, by your trigger-happy flyboys," the two majors stiffened at this, "damaged not only my landing field and a substantial portion of my aircraft, but also the power plant, the docks, and even some of the comm array. Thank God my people were hidden in the holding area at the time. I'd hate to think how many more would have died. I personally have been assaulted, held captive, and shot with a pulse emitter." He paused. "I think it's safe to say, Colonel, that I've been considerably more than busy." Mardell reddened and pointed a shaking finger at Onklage. "Perhaps I need to refresh your memory on a couple of items, Warden. You called us asking for help. Those flyboys came under fire as soon as they were in range by your weapon system. They had to defend themselves just to stay alive, to say nothing of completing the mission you begged us to take on." "You knew the base had been attacked. Chief Mir warned you that the defense systems had been activated. I'm sorry if some of your ships got scratched, Colonel, but scratched? You blew one of them out of the sky, killing both crewmen aboard. You don't, and if you want to talk about the mission, Colonel, why don't you brief me on the outcome? How is it that a single unarmed lander managed to evade 5 Kasayan bombers? Perhaps your pilots are in need of some target practice. Anklage let his hands rest on the arms of his chair and took a breath to calm himself. It was fine for Mardell to lose his temper, but Anklage would maintain control. Mardell glared. His mouth opened and closed as if he were working to come up with some crushing rejoinder. Anklage gestured to Mardell's empty chair. Colonel, please sit. We won't get anywhere by kicking sand at each other. Anklage glanced over his shoulder at the 2 majors and settled himself into the chair. The functionaries followed suit. That's better, Anklage said. Now then, it didn't evade our bombers. Our in-flight vids clearly show a hit. The lander was listing to starboard and trailing smoke when it vanished from sight. Then it went straight into the storm. That aircraft is in pieces and at the bottom of the ocean by now. So Anklage had been told, and it was probably true. Spoiler, it's not true. I hope you're right. We have to be sure. As soon as we get the harbor cleared, we'll send out ships to scout for debris. Of course, his pudgy face remained stuck in a scowl. And we'll want to review those in-flight vids. It will help us pinpoint the lander's position and confirm the truth of this Kasayan's words. Mardell drummed his fat fingers on the arm of his chair. We'll transmit dupes to you as soon as they're ready. Fine, although I'd advise you not to have too many copies lying around. I'll keep as many as I need. Anklage didn't like the sound of that. Do you mean to show those vids to your superiors? I have to. Why is that? Unlike you, Warden, I'm accountable to a chain of command. I'm accountable to the Petra Compact. Why are you taking this off-world? Mardell rolled his eyes. Don't play stupid with me. I've reviewed those vids. I saw the markings on that lander. It was a Juresian craft. Anklage kept his gaze steady. They had come to the crux of it now. He had to proceed with careful confidence. Yes, it was. And would you mind telling me what the hell a Juresian ship is doing on Petra? Would you mind telling me what the hell Kasayan ships are doing on Petra? Mardell's glare returned. I didn't think so, Anklage said. We have an agreement, Colonel. I don't ask what you're doing in Farside. You paid for the use of the land and for privacy. You don't want anyone asking questions, and I frankly don't want to know, although I'll bet I can guess. He shrugged it off. But never mind. My point is that, by the same token, I don't need your permission to entertain visitors. Mardell considered this in silence. His 2 functionaries watched him. Their faces, young, clean-shaven, were blank, expressionless. They didn't comprehend everything that was happening here. Mardell cleared his throat. Is Juris joining the Petra Compact? They're considering it. Mardell's face cracked in a smirk. Not anymore, I imagine. How are you planning to explain to them the loss of their lander? The man's smile irked Anklage. Shall I tell them it was shot down by Kasayans? The smirk vanished. That's a poor joke, Warden. Not a joke. Merely trying to point out that we both stand to lose in this situation. Where are the Juresians? What have you told them? The Juresian dignitary was on board the lander when you shot it down. Mardell absorbed this with more aplomb than Anklage was expecting. He must have been expecting it. How did that happen? You mean to tell me the Juresian was aiding these prisoners? He was a hostage, like I was. They needed him to fly the lander. Mardell shifted in his chair. That lander didn't get here on its own. Where's the port ship that carried it? Still in orbit. They're understandably anxious about the situation down here. That was an understatement. The insufferable captain of the port ship had been demanding hourly updates via Allcom. All they know at the moment is that the lander was lost in the storm. Get it out of here. Anklage's chest tightened at the imperative. I would like nothing more, believe me. But I doubt they'll leave without hard evidence that the lander is indeed destroyed, and we can't exactly show them the video, can we? Mardell shook his head, his lips pursed as if pulled taut by a drawstring. That port ship is an unexploded bomb, Warden. You think I don't know this? How are you going to explain the lander taking off in the middle of a Category 2 storm? I'll tell them the truth, as much of it as I can, anyway. They already know the island was locked down. It won't be too hard for them to piece together some version of what happened. I'll tell them the prisoners forced a launch attempt in those conditions, but the storm proved too much for the lander. Anklage worked control on the arm of his chair. The curtains on the north wall opened halfway. He stood and looked out. Late afternoon sun colored the jungle and the base structures red-orange. Beyond, the ocean glittered. The western horizon was still dark with the tail end of the slow-moving storm. Anklage extended a hand to the ocean. It will help immeasurably to find some wreckage, even if it shows burn marks. We can always claim a lightning strike. It's worked before. Mardell rose. So there's no way to prevent word of this from getting out. There's going to be a full-scale investigation. Of course there's going to be an investigation. Did you honestly think otherwise? Anklage hadn't expected this level of naivete from the man. Then again, he was a soldier, not a politician. Anklage looked out the window again. All regularly scheduled flights to Petra have already been suspended. That alone will be enough to attract attention, but by the time any investigation occurs, we'll be ready. Any damage the investigators see will be attributable to either the assault or the storm. All our records will be in order. And if there happen to be gaps, well, we can attribute that to the uprising too. We'll get through this, Colonel. Compact will get through this. And what about your own people? Can you keep them from talking out of term when they return to their homeworlds on leave or when they retire from Petran service? You let me worry about my people, Colonel. Most of them were secured underground when your ships flew over. They'll only find out what I let them know. No, Mardell said. Anklage turned away from the view. I beg your pardon? Mardell drew himself to his full height, such as it was. I'm afraid that's not good enough, Warden. What's not good enough? None of it. There are too many witnesses, too many holes in the story. It won't hold up to scrutiny. Anklage held his temper in check, but it was getting difficult. Don't underestimate me. No one thought an idea like Petra could work until I showed it could be done. To be sure, Mardell motioned to his functionaries. They stood. One of them brought the colonel his coat. But I'm a conservative man by nature. I have a very low tolerance for risk, and we have a lot to protect here. He held out his arms as his aide helped him into his coat. For that matter, so does every member of the compact. You might want to consider notifying the other signatories. I'll take that under advisement. Don't think about it too long, or others may make the decision for you. Mardell buttoned his coat. Not me, you understand, but I have a report to send. You'll issue the necessary clearance for the portal, yes? Mardell had his own port ship in orbit as far as the Geresians knew. It belonged to Anklage. Mardell used it as a courier between Petra and Kaseya. Of course, Anklage said. Thank you, Warden. Mardell and his aides headed for the doors. Colonel, Mardell looked back. It will hold up to scrutiny, if we all stick to the story. Hang together or hang separately, is that it? Those are the choices. Not my decision to make, thank God. Good night, Warden. The double doors slid open. Mardell and his aides left. Anklage remained standing for long minutes after the doors had shut again. He considered withholding Mardell's access to the portal, but that would accomplish nothing except antagonize the Kaseyan and delay the inevitable. Sooner or later, his higher-ups would send another port ship through to find out why Mardell hadn't reported in so long. He took several deep breaths. attempting to regain the serenity he'd felt when he'd walked into his office. Hang together or hang separately. The Lander wreckage. That had to come first. The sooner Anklage could confirm the unfortunate death of Cane Python, the sooner this would end. He sat and started making the necessary calls to coordinate the search effort. Okay, and that is the end of that chapter. Well, again, little spoiler alert, Cane Python isn't dead. And there's all sorts of fun coming. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed that a little bit. Again, that is from my book Petra, which again looks like this. And the sequel is Petra Released. And I am working on the third book in that series, Petra Rising, right now. Feel free to check out my website if you'd like to find out more about those books or about any of my other work. And that's about all I have. I suppose I should also take a moment to mention, if you are interested, you can go out to my website and sign up for my newsletter. And I try to put that newsletter out monthly, and that contains exclusive content and freebies and updates on other projects that I'm working on or other appearances I might be making. So, and I can tell you this, that if you sign up for that newsletter, you will get a free gift. All new subscribers to the newsletter get a free gift. And I'll just tell you right now, it's the copy of a short story of mine that won an award back in 2009. And it is one of my personal favorites of my own work, and I think a lot of people like it, and I think you will too. So again, please feel free to sign up for my newsletter, get that free gift. If nothing else, sign up, get the free story. If you're not interested in the newsletter, you can unsubscribe at any time, and I promise that your email and address will never be shared with anyone. Okay. All right, that I believe is everything I've got for you. Again, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of MileHiCon, and we will talk again soon, I hope. All right, take care. Rock on, you guys.